Hello everyone, my name is Vishal and welcome to another session of Intro to Python. Um, so in the previous video, we got introduced to iterative statements, and in specific, we looked at for loops, right? Uh, this video is going to be a continuation of that. So we're going to look at a few more things. Few more examples of what a for loop can do, and then we'll sort of move on to another kind of loop statement, right? So we basically we saw what a for loop can do. It can help us loop over a certain piece of code, right? We looked at looping over a piece of code using one variable like this for I in range um, 0 comma 10 comma 1, and we said print I. So we saw something like this, right? But what if I want to iterate through something like a dictionary, right? So let's say I have a dictionary like something like this, name saying Jack, age saying 25, and city saying, I don't know, Bangalore, right? So let's say I have a dictionary like this. Now, how can I loop through this dictionary and how can I get both the key as well as the value? How can I get both of them, right? So in those kinds of cases, I can use two variables in my for loop. So use two variables as part of the for loop. One variable is going to refer to the key and the other variable is going to refer to the value. So that'll look like for I comma j. So now you have two variables. In how do I access the key value pairs? If you remember from dictionaries, I can access the key value pairs by doing d dot items. Right? This will help us access the key value pairs. Now I can say name, or rather I can say I comma j. It's items. So there you go. So now you can see you have the I, which is referring to my key, and j, which is referring to my value, being printed side by side. So super interesting. So if you want to look at what exactly d dot items is going to give you, this is what it gives you, right? So if you have something similar to this, like a nested list, right? You can always get a bunch of you can use different variables to access them. So if I have something like, let's say, three variables, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 9, and I call this L. So now what I can do is I can say for I comma j comma k in L, print I comma j comma k. So there you go, right? So you have I, j, k, 1, 4, 7, right? So that's how it sort of works. So super useful when you want to work with multiple variables and when you want to print multiple things, especially when you're working with nested lists or dictionaries. I think that's more or less what you would require for, let's say, if you want to study data science or machine learning. But as you keep on practicing working with loops, you're gonna get a better hang of it, and you can do some practice questions as well, and that'll help you get more familiar with for loops. Now, there's another sort of loop statements on Python, and those are called while loops. Those are called while loops, right? So first, let me write some code, and then I'll explain how a while loop works, right? So I'll say I is equal to 0 while I is less than or equal to 10, print I plus is equal to 1. So what's this gonna do? Any guesses? It's gonna print values from 0 to 10. Very similar to a for loop, and in fact I would say this is a bit more intuitive, right? So how this works is instead of doing everything, so if you want to do this using a for loop, you will say for I in range 0, which is your initial value, 10, which is where you want to stop, and 1, which is your step size. You will say print I. Maybe easier to code, right? Lightweight, but maybe we probably need to write a bit more code here, but this is more intuitive, right? Because here you're specifying start from 0. I is going to be 0 to start with. And then you say while I is less than or equal to 10, and that's pretty much English vocabulary, right? So while as long as I is less than or equal to 10, print I. And as soon as you print I, increase I by 1. Then I will become 1. And is I still less than or equal to 10? Yes, I is still gonna be less than or equal to 10. So again, it's gonna print I. Then I is gonna become 2. Is 2 still less than or equal to 10? Yes, 2 is still less than or equal to 10. So it's gonna again print 2. Then it's gonna become 3. So a lot more intuitive than I would say for loops, right? So this is how a while loop would work. Syntax wise, pretty similar. Instead of for, you're just gonna put while here. So, and you're just gonna write your while condition here. So it's gonna say something like, if I want to define the syntax, I'm gonna say first initialize, say I is equal to something, and then you're gonna start your while loop, and you will say while condition, and then you're gonna say statement, and then you're gonna increment. So this is how a while loop would sort of work. So sometimes why we would use while loop instead of for loop. It's because while loop sort of gives you more flexibility, right? While loop sort of gives more flexibility. And when I say flexibility, what I mean is, let's say I have two variables. I have I is equal to 0 and j is equal to 10. I can directly include both of these in my while loop. So I can say while I is greater than 0, and let's say j is less than 5, print I and print j. What I'm going to do is I'm going to increment I by 1 and I'm going to decrement j by 1. So I'm increasing I by 1, I'm decreasing j by 1, right? And I can do stuff like this, which gives me a lot more flexibility. And here it's not printing anything because I greater than 0 and j less than 5 never happens at the same time, right? So if I maybe change this to j greater than 5, still it's not going to give anything, because again I greater than 0 and j greater than 5, both these together is not going to happen at the same time, right? So when I say it doesn't happen at the same time, and what I'm saying is to start with itself, this condition is false, right? Because I starts with 0, so I is not greater than 0 to start with. And since we have a AND here, both these conditions should be true in order for me to go inside, right? Here, one of it is automatically false because I is not greater than 0 to start with. And I can only increase after you go inside the loop, which is not happening. It's never going inside the loop because it's false to start with itself, right? Now, what if I do I greater than or equal to 0? What do you think will happen now? Let's run it. Well, now you can see there is some stuff that is printed. So let's see how this works. So first, I is gonna be 0, or you know what? Let's do a dry run. Let's sketch it out and see how it works. So first, I is equal to 0 and j is equal to 10. Is I greater than or equal to 0? Yes. Is j greater than 5? Yes, it is 10. So both these are true and true. So that means if both are true and true is gonna give you true. So it's gonna go inside the loop and it's gonna print I and j. So it's gonna print 0, it's gonna print 10. Now I is gonna increase by 1. So I is gonna become 1. And j is going to decrease by 1. So j is gonna become 9. Okay. Now let's see what happens to the set of conditions. I greater than or equal to 0, is that true? Yes, I is equal to 1, which is greater than 0, so it's true. Is j still greater than 5? J is equal to 9, so yes, for sure, j is still greater than 5. It goes right here, and it's gonna print I, which is 1, and j, which is 9. Now, this is going to go on and on and on until one of these is false. And if you think about it, j greater than 5 is gonna be false at some point because you're decreasing the value of j, right? So j is gonna be equal to 5 at some point, and at that point you're going to come outside of the loop, right? So it's just the flexibility that while loop gives you, and it's not like this is not possible with a for loop. It is still possible with a for loop, but it's a lot more intuitive, I would say, right? And when you want a bit more flexibility, you would use a for loop. So another rule about when you would use a while loop is when you don't know how many times to iterate, right? When you don't know how many times to iterate. So what does this mean? So let's say that you want to check the password. You want to check the password of a person, right? The person is inputting a password. You want to check whether the password is correct or incorrect, right? So you would want to let someone in only if the password is right? Only if the password is correct. When you're logging into your laptop, even if you give a wrong password, it allows you multiple attempts, right? So, but you don't know how many attempts it's going to take for the user to hit the right password. So how many times do you need to loop? How many times do you need to allow the user to enter the password? You don't know how many attempts the user is going to take, right? So then you would probably use a while loop. So if you want to code that out, let's say I'm going to say password, I'm going to say input. So the input, something we have not been introduced to yet, but it sort of allows user to give the input. So you will just see in a second what it does. So I'll say enter password, and I will say while password is not equal to, let's say the correct password is hello123, right? So if the password that the user enters is not hello123, I want to allow the user to give another input. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to copy this and I'm going to say wrong password or wrong enter password again, right? Now this is going to continue until the user enters hello123. Once the user enters hello123, I'm going to say print success logged in, right? So let's see how this works. So this is what my input keyword allows me to do. I can enter whatever I want. So first let me enter a wrong password. I'm going to enter, let's say, Vishal. Now the password is not equal to hello123. And since it's not equal to hello123, it's going to go inside, right? And it's going to say wrong, enter password again. Now, if I again type a wrong password, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, again, this particular thing is going to be false, right? Or rather, it's going to be like the password is not equal to hello123. So it's going to allow me to, it's going to go back inside the loop and it's going to allow me to enter once again, right? Now, if I put the correct password, hello123, it's going to say success logged in, because this statement is not it's not true anymore, because password does equal hello123. Here it says password not equal to hello123, then go inside. But now password is equal to hello123, so it is not going to go inside my loop, right? So here we don't know how many attempts is going to take, right? So if you want to count the number of attempts, you can even do that. You can say I is equal to 0, and you can probably say I plus is equal to 1, and you can say I attempts taken, right? So you can now count the number of attempts. So I can say something, then I can put another something, another something, then I can say hello 1, 2, 3. So now it tells you 3 attempts taken, or rather I can start I with 1 and it's going to say 4 attempts taken, right? So this is the flexibility that while loop gives me. So I don't know how many times the user should enter the password. So I don't know how many times I should loop this. So a while loop makes it very convenient for me, something that a for loop doesn't give me the freedom to do that, right? I need to know how many times I want to iterate, right? Using the range or using the number of elements in the list or whatever. So that's about while loop. So just like a for loop, you can do nested while loops and all those things, which I'm not going to spend time on. You can probably explore some of that by yourself. There are a couple more important keywords when we are working with loops and conditions, and those are called the break statement and the continue statement, right? So I quickly want to showcase how the break statement and continue statement works. So let's start with a while loop. So let's say I is equal to 0 and y I less than or equal to 10. I'm going to say print I, and let's say I'll take an input from a user. So I'll take j is equal to input. I'll say enter a number, and I will say if the user enters the number that is equal to I, just something hypothetically. So if a user enters the number that matches at what iteration this particular loop is in. So I indicates at what iteration the loop is in. So if the user enters some number which matches with the iteration number, let us say I want to come out of the loop. I want to come out of the loop, right? So let's see how that's gonna work. So let me typecast j to int just to be sure. So let me do this now. So first I'm gonna enter 3. I'm gonna enter 5. Oh, I forgot to do I plus is equal to 1. So let me do I plus is equal to 1. Yeah. So now let's do 3, 4, 6, 3. The loop is stopped because I entered 3 and that was j, and I was also 3, j. So you're getting my point, right? So the break statement, it helps you come out of the loop prematurely given some condition, right? So the break statement helps you come out of a loop prematurely if a certain condition is met. So this means if this particular set of statements were not there, then this would have just run for 10 times, right? So if I remove these things, this just would have given a normal 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? But since I have the break statement here, it can end prematurely. So I can say 0 and I can end my loop. So I can say print ended prematurely at j, right? At comma j, right? So I can say 6, 4, I can say 2, and I can say ended prematurely at 2, because at 2 I was also 2 and j is also 2, so it's going to end prematurely at 2. So you get what I'm saying, right? It's ending prematurely, and that's what the break allows you to do. Similarly, there is another statement called continue, right? So let us say, for example, I'm going to take the same thing. I'm going to say the same thing, and I'm going to say if I is equal to j, I'm going to say continue. Else, I'm going to say print not equal, right? So what continue does is, continue just says, just move on from that particular iteration. So if I is equal to j, what's going to happen is, let me showcase. If I is equal to j, you're directly going to come out of the loop and go to the next iteration, right? If there was break here, what break does is it comes out of the loop. It doesn't go back here. But what continue does is it's not going to stop the loop altogether, or it's not going to stop the iteration process altogether. It is just going to stop that particular iteration. So let me quickly showcase what that means and how it works. So let me do this. Let me enter a number. Let me say 5. And it says not equal. So we're good to go. I mean, because I is not equal to j, so it's going to go to my else. And in else I have not equal. So it's going to print not equal. I is going to increase by 1. Now I is equal to 1. Let me give 8. Again, I and j are not equal, so it doesn't go inside this. It rather goes inside the else. Again, it's not equal. It's going to print not equal. then I is going to increase by 1, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 2. Now observe what happens. When I give an input of 2, j will be 2. I is also 2. Observe, I was also 2 at that point. J is also 2, which means I is equal to j. And what's happening is the continue is triggered. The continue statement or the continue keyword is now triggered, right? Now what the continue is doing is it's directly going right here. It's going to skip all of this. All of this is skipped. And what this means is even I plus is equal to 1, the increment is also skipped. The increment is also skipped. So you can see it was 2, I was 2, I was supposed to become 3, but since this was triggered, I remained at 2. This never got, it never entered this part. It directly went from here to here, right? So if I give 2 once again, it's going to keep on staying at the same place. It's never going to increase. But if I give some other number, it's going to do fine. But if I give the same number, it's going to stay at the same number. So that's what continue does. So continue, while the break statements helps you come out of loop prematurely, continue, it is used when you want to come out of that specific iteration prematurely, right? So you want to skip everything that comes after continue. So you want to skip everything that comes after this point. So this part right here. So you want to skip all of this. So that's the difference between break and continue. No, I know it can be a bit confusing at times, but I would suggest you go through the you rewind and you go through these two concepts once again, so you get a better hang of it, right? So this is about loops, for loops, while loops, break, continue, multiple variables as well. Super useful. So yeah, I would suggest you guys do some practice questions on this, and you guys will definitely get a hang of it. For now, I'm going to stop with this video. I will see you in the next one. Thank you.